But around that, I have a policy and a process around being nice and then being not nice.
Yeah, that's good.
And I call it my be nice twice policy. And it's the first time I'm going to do everything in my power to solve the problem.
Mm,
The second time, I'm going to go way above and beyond, even to my own detriment, to
mm,
solve the problem. And if we are having conflict on the same issue for a third time, at that point, I assume you don't wanna be helped. I'm gonna shut it down.
mm.
This is what it says. This is what we're gonna do, and, melt your face off. So and I found that, or I learned to implement that because, like many women, I'm not saying men don't experience this as well, but I think women, especially in our culture,
Mhm,
told to be nice, we are told
mhm.
to be conciliatory, and you get agitated and you default to that position of how am I gonna be nice? How am I gonna and you can really wind up in a sort of abusive loop,
Mm.
both
Yeah.
owners and tenants
Yeah,
who
Yeah.
understand you're not in a position, or, you have to kinda take it.
yeah.
So if you don't put a parameter around it, it's hard to fall back on it and take the right stance when you need to.
Right.
So it's just a
Yeah,
system
yeah.
that I've implemented.
Power
Mhm,
in knowing the contracts, right? There's absolute just, that confidence. If you know that contract inside and out, you can talk with confidence. And to your point, right? If push comes to shove, you can just say, hey, look, section 7A, right? Line, you know, 215, whatever, right?
Yep.
It's right there. And that's going to put somebody in their place, right?
You
I
also gain a lot of respect
yeah,
from your people if you're just honest and direct. Like, a lot of my property owners, what they really appreciated about us was, 9 times out of 10, things were great. But if you really like, we had a situation in not Nick's unit, but another unit in Portland on the Park, and the tenant flooded the unit. They
oh,
flooded
Oh,
the they
oh,
turned the
geez.
bathtub on to draw a
uh-oh.
bath and then went and took a nap.
Oh god.
Clearly the
Wha-
tenant's fault. It
Wow,
wasn't like something failed in the property. They flooded the entire unit.
wow.
Well, that's obviously a pretty crappy phone call to have to make to your property owner, right? But rather than trying to, I mean, obviously you take action and you get the
Mhm.
remediation people in there and you get the water shut off
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. But then you should be the one reaching out on the front foot. Hey, we've got a bad situation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's complete crap. Here's what happened. Here's the action we've already taken. Here's what's going to need to happen next. I need you to get your homeowner's insurance involved. We'll meet the adjuster. We're going to need to pick out new flooring. This is the time frame for that. And that particular property owner, even though obviously, he wound up flying in, like it was a whole thing, right? And he routinely would say to me for years after that, Megan, that is when I had absolute trust in you
Mhm.
managing my property, because
Nice.
that was a really, really bad situation. You didn't try to sugarcoat it. I didn't find out about it from somebody else. You
Yeah.
actually made it easy because, we lined we got all the work quoted and lined up and done, and just back to him for approval. We actually had new flooring and the person moved back in inside of 30 days, and he did not pay a penny. That was over
Wow,
Wow.
$15,000 worth of repair, and the company paid 100% of it because it
Yeah.
wow.
was clearly the
Tenant,
tenant.
because the tenant did it. So I'm going back to what you said earlier. I like the fact that like I had a three strikes and you're out rule when I ran group homes. Before I got into real estate, I ran group homes for mentally handicapped, and I had a thing where I could separate friendship and business, and so I had the kind of the same concept that I would go three strikes as opposed to two. But I like the fact that you're setting the expectations with not only your employees but your clients as well, because how you just talked about that individual that owned the unit that was completely flooded out. That speaks volumes in how you ran your business as just a human as well. Because I have this saying that when you have bad news, never go to bed with bad news on your mind. So if you have to call a client up because the house didn't appraise or because their loan got denied or whatever the reason is, too many of realtors I think will just they carry that knowledge. I don't want to run their night. I don't want to run their night, but you're running your own night because you can't sleep because you're failing to share the bad news that you just need to rip off with a band-aid because it's not going to go away because you go to sleep. or try to go to sleep. I like that. Right. So just rip it off like a band-aid, whatever the case may be in our world of real estate, because it's the quicker you share the bad news, the better you can come up with a solution with your client and lay down the foundation to continue moving forward if that's possible. So I think that's how
Well,
you
and
handle that was
again, you're gonna
fantastic.
gain